I admire the ideal of Aikido, but I also think it's utopian. And in many ways, it's a utopian delusion. The closest you're going to come to that ideal is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Right.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu does what Aikido claims to be able to do.
Yeah.
And it's still not that easy, right? You have to have size and strength do matter, and youth and speed and explosiveness. And in order to overcome that, you have to have superior technique, and more importantly, or just as importantly, the timing to use that superior technique from hours and hours and years of live training. But it can be done. And when you see a high-level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu person, I have female black belts who will consistently tap out big, strong men that walk in here because they're very good at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But make no mistake, they've worked really hard over years to be that good. So that's the first part I would say. The second part about violence in general, I think people have to understand and come to grips with what's out in the world. I'm almost done working on a book that I've been working on for the last 5 years about violence. And there's a story I tell in there of the Pettit family, which was a upper middle class family on the East Coast. The husband was a doctor. He had a wife and 2 young daughters. One day, a couple guys who'd been casing out his wife and daughter, they'd seen them shopping at the grocery store and decided they liked the way they looked and that they looked like they had some money. They went to the Pettit family, walked in the downstairs door that happened to be unlocked. The husband was asleep on the chair. They hit him with a bat, tied him up. They tied up the young women, preteen girls, raped them, raped the mom, murdered her, covered the girls in gasoline while they were laying in the bed, and lit them on fire. When you hear them interview or listen to them talk, they don't have any remorse about doing that or concern about what they had done. I'm not saying that there's a lot of people walking around the world like that. I don't even think that they were true sociopaths. But there are people walking around the world like that. And the only thing on this earth that has ever stopped people like that from using physical violence to take everything you own and everything away from you, including your loved ones, is violent physical force or the threat of it. It's the only thing that's ever stopped them. Good intentions aren't going to stop them. Being nice to them isn't going to stop them. Cooperating isn't going to stop them. So if your paths somehow happen to cross, the only thing that's going to stop them is the fact that they're either worried that you're going to harm them some way physically and capable of it, or that you do actually harm them some way physically and are capable of it. And the acknowledgement of that, and that's not just the world that we live in now, but it's the world that we've always lived in. It's the world that your ancestors lived in, increasingly so compared to now. And the fact that you wouldn't be here having this conversation with me right now, and we wouldn't be enjoying this conversation together if our ancestors, some of them, weren't pretty good at homicide. And that's a part of who we are. It's a part of nature. It's a part of, and as human animals, and it's part of our evolutionary process. What we don't want to do with something like that, that's so intrinsic to our biology, like reproduction, like sex is to either vilify it and demonize it, or on the other end of the scale, to romanticize it and create a fetish out of it. And so when I see the people who move too far over to the peacenik side of things and they start to get into being pacifists or close to it, I see the same kind of mental imbalance that I see with guys who want to dress up in camouflage and be Rambo and carry big knives. It's just two extremes of the same problem. Right. And so I think when you have an issue like violence, you want to have a healthy relationship to the topic. Right. And a healthy relationship to the topic is you'll do what you have to do to defend your family. And there's no idealism one way or the other about that.
It is still very self-preoccupied, that desire to be peaceful, to come across as peaceful, to say, oh, I would not use violence. It's not about the thing, it's about my image.
It is. I'll tell you what, I love a lot of the Buddhist philosophy, and I've looked around over the years on iTunes for some good Buddhist podcasts, and there's a few, but I find myself unable to listen to a lot of them because as soon as I turn it on and I hear the guy's voice and he's talking in that really soft spiritual voice, I'm like, dude, I can't do it. I can't listen to you anymore because it's so narcissistic.
I feel it's so easy to speak about all these things until we're really exposed to it. And I haven't been so much exposed to it, but I can see through that I can talk about peace all I want, but if the moment comes for violence, probably I'll naturally be drawn to violence. I won't think about my philosophy and so on.
Right. And if you're protecting your loved ones, I would hope you would be, right?
Right, yeah.
If you like this video, make sure to click the like button. That really helps. Also, share it with your friends. If you want me to document my training and interviews with some of the best instructors in the world, consider becoming a supporter on Patreon, which makes a big difference. You'll find a link to my Patreon page on the right corner. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the virtual mat again soon.